Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The Taliban's top political leaders have arrived back in Afghanistan from Qatar, where many were in exile for more than 10 years. Video posted on Twitter by a spokesperson showed people exiting a plane and cheering around a man believed to be Abdul Ghani Barada, the political chief of the Taliban, with the video's graphics saying he'd arrived in Afghanistan from Qatar. A Taliban commander also met the former Afghan president, Hamid Karzai, for talks amid efforts by the Taliban to set up a government. Meanwhile, the city of Jalalabad in eastern Afghanistan has been the site of demonstrations, where at least 2 people have been killed and 12 wounded after shots were fired at a protest against the removal of the Afghan flag. The city was captured by the Taliban early on Sunday morning without fighting. At least 1,941 people are now known to have died in Haiti in Saturday's powerful earthquake, a rise of more than 500 on the previous figure. Nearly 10,000 people have been injured and many are still missing after the 7.2 magnitude earthquake. Rescue work has been hampered by heavy rains brought this week by Tropical Storm Grace to the Caribbean nation. The UN says about 500,000 children now have limited or no access to shelter, safe water and food. The World Health Organization says it has identified counterfeit versions of India's primary COVID vaccine, Covishield. The doses were seized by authorities in India and Africa between July and August. The WHO warned that fake vaccines pose a serious risk to global public health, calling for their removal. Covishield is the Indian-made version of AstraZeneca's jab and is the most widely used vaccine in India, with more than 486 million doses administered so far. Lithuania has accused 12 Belarusian officers in riot gear of illegally entering its territory to push a group of migrants over the border. More than 4,100 mostly Iraqi migrants have entered Lithuania from neighbouring Belarus so far this year. The rise in illegal crossings started in June after the EU imposed sanctions on longtime Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko. Lithuania and its allies have accused Belarus of flying in migrants from the Middle East to send across the border in retaliation for those sanctions. Authorities say the huge Californian wildfire has now burned more than 626,000 acres since it began 6 weeks ago. Known as the Dixie Fire, it now ranks as the second largest Californian wildfire on record. Emergency services say it is currently 31% contained. It is also the biggest by far among scores of fires raging across the western United States. Experts say they are symptomatic of climate change. Meanwhile, Israeli firefighters are battling a massive wildfire west of Jerusalem that has burned 2,000 hectares of forest over the past 3 days. Authorities have been forced to evacuate about 2,000 residents of nearby towns and villages as a precaution. Qantas has said all of its employees must be vaccinated against COVID-19, making it the latest global airline to mandate jabs for staff. Frontline workers, including pilots, cabin crew and airport staff, must be fully vaccinated by mid-November. The company says its remaining employees have until the end of March next year to receive both doses. The Australian flag carrier is the country's biggest, most high-profile company to introduce a mandatory vaccination policy. And finally, one of Spain's greatest living artists has been drawing a daily crowd by painting in public in Madrid. It's not often you get to see a master at work, but Antonio Lopez has been setting up his easel and canvas every day on the famous Puerta del Sol square. The 85-year-old, who has long enjoyed a career in Spain and features in the permanent collections of museums around the world, is renowned for his lifelike depictions of everyday subjects, from city scenes to portraits. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.